3:00 in the morning, someone starts banging and screaming on my front door and my front window.
No.
And I was like, oh my God, they found me. Onecoiners have found me. Couldn't believe it.
Hello and welcome to Blockchain Insider for a very special interview with the one and only Jamie Bartlett. How you doing, Jamie?
Oh, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show. You've become quite well known recently in certain circles.
Don't know what's going on. I did this talk about the darknet a while back, and I got a little bit of recognition for that, but nothing compared to what's happened in the last 3 months.
Well, what's happened in the last 3 months is you've put out a podcast on BBC Sounds called "Is it the Case of the Missing Crypto Queen?" What happened with that podcast? How did that podcast come about? And can you give that some context?
Right. Well, the producer of the podcast, Georgia Cat, who appears throughout, she probably just over a year ago, she actually got approached by someone telling her about this incredible new cryptocurrency called Onecoin. You know, you might want to consider investing. You're going to make a fortune. She doesn't know anything about cryptocurrencies, but she started looking into it and thought something's not right about this. And yes, I've heard that the inventor of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, has disappeared too. But this woman who's invented Onecoin has also vanished, and something seems very strange about her disappearance.
Well, because this was a real person. Satoshi Nakamoto famously was like, is it a real person? And is it many people? And as many people thought it was. Dr. Ruja was the person in question here, was quite public at one point.
Oh, completely. No, yeah, I was about to get to that, but it was just to say that the story came about from that, a very strange encounter that she had, and I think she was supposed to be working on another podcast, and she kind of stopped what she was doing, phoned me up and said, I found the most crazy story. You know about cryptocurrency, right? I've seen your work. I said, yeah, I know all about it. I know all about them. She said, you heard about Onecoin then? It's massive. And I said, no. Mm-hmm. She said, what do you mean? But it's a multi-billion-dollar cryptocurrency.
Wow.
But I'd never heard of it.
I honestly, I live and breathe this stuff. I'd never heard of it.
Isn't that weird?
And most of the nerds that I'm talking to on WhatsApp and Telegram and Signal and elsewhere were like, never heard of this thing. Yeah. It's like, what has crypto come to when none of us had heard of Onecoin and it was massive? Right,
we'll get to that because I think that's really important and a bit of a failing on the part of the crypto world, actually. But the thing is, I start looking into it and suddenly I realise this is the craziest story I've ever seen in my life. Woman turns up, Ruja Ignatova, in 2014 and said, I've got the next Bitcoin. Bitcoin's complicated, it's techie, everyone involved, apologies to listeners, is arrogant. Mm-hmm. I'm going to build a Bitcoin that's for the masses. It's going to be simple, it's going to be easy to use, it's going to be about buying and selling. Get in now on the ground floor. Within a couple of years, it'll be worth $100 a coin. And people just started putting a lot of money into this, and by 2017, less than 3 years later, 4 billion euros at least had been invested into Onecoin.
That's mad.
And then the woman disappears in October 2017, never to be seen again. I mean, already you can tell that has the making of an interesting story. So what we then did with the podcast, we pitched it into the BBC. They said, great, off you go. And I suppose the secret of it, because you're a podcast person, you'll understand, is yes, we're looking for Dr. Ruja Ignatova. Where is she? Well, what are the leads that can help us work out where she might have gotten to? But also through that, how did she pull this off? I mean, how did so many people fall for Onecoin? What's the scam behind Onecoin? How does it work? And so the podcast was to unravel those two stories together.
Yeah, and it throws up those questions as you go through the process, and you have to do a lot of interesting things as you're going on that journey. And I guess it did become sort of quite investigative. You're sort of these roving reporters at one stage. So how did you actually get started investigating what was going on and what questions you wanted to ask? What did that process look like? Well,
the truth is that some podcasts are released as 8 episodes and they come out weekly, but they've all been made in advance. Mm-hmm. So it's a bit faked, if you like. But this one, genuinely, when we released episode 1, episode 6, 7, and 8, and actually 5 wasn't done at all. Mm-hmm. We still had, and we were still investigating leads. Yeah, okay, you do, yeah. So we made that as part of the decision because we knew that Onecoin, unlike most stories about scams, and if I haven't said it yet, Onecoin is a scam. Unlike most scam stories, that are then investigated by podcasts or whatever. The scam was still running when we started the podcast in full flow. I had a plan that I would be able to interview Konstantin Ignatov, the brother, because he wasn't arrested until March 2019 and we started in January.
Wow.
So when we put the pitch in, a bit of secret information for you, we're going to try to interview Konstantin Ignatov, the brother of Usha, because they're public figures.
Yeah.
So but then he goes to the US and gets himself arrested and he's just pleaded guilty for fraud. So the first step was, of course, to set out, the broad story, do your research online, and then we knew that we were sort of up against the clock, and we wanted to get to some events, we wanted to meet some investors, we wanted to meet promoters. The first thing we actually did was we went to Bulgaria, where she was based, saw her office, saw her boat in Sozopol, interviewed a local investigator, and then we got wind of a Onecoin event taking place in Romania, like a Onecoin cryptocurrency beauty pageant, the world's first ever cryptocurrency beauty pageant.
And you actually recorded sound at that event, I recall.
We did. Yeah, we did. Of course, we went in there. And because we really wanted to get to a Onecoin event to see how they promoted it, but we were worried that with the BBC, they wouldn't let us in or whatever. And so we just turned up. Basically, what we did there was we kind of turned up and talked our way in and said, we come a long way. We're with the BBC. We don't want, we're not going to take videos. We just want sound. And after a lot of toing and froing, they let us in. I cannot believe they let us in, but they let us into this beauty pageant. Nothing like, I've been to a lot of Bitcoin events. It's nothing like a Onecoin event. They talk the same language, but they're not the same people. They're not talking about, have you ever been to an Ethereum beauty pageant?
They look quite different. There's a lot more, sort of get Vitalik buff again sort of memes. And,
it's there.
Yeah, and I think unicorn punk is their general vibe that they're going for in the Ethereum community. It's quite different. It's esoteric in its own ways, but it's nerds gone mad rather than a beauty pageant. That's for sure.
So we start off. We weren't sure at the outlet what we would get. And we knew that the transmission date for episode 1 was mid-September. And so we had the summer and spring to try to get, there were people we really wanted to get. We really wanted to get the multi-level marketer, Iger Alberts, who's one of the world's top multi-level marketers who'd made millions of dollars selling Onecoin. Yeah. We knew we wanted to get the victims. But we didn't know exactly what we'd get when we started, because you never quite know when you start off on these kind of investigative thing. But we knew we wanted to get to Uganda because when we started reading about the fact there were villages in Uganda where people hadn't heard of Bitcoin, but they'd heard of Onecoin. People had like a whole village had chipped in together to be able to afford to buy the starter package. And I know this package language might be confusing to a listener, but maybe we'll explain it in a second.
Yeah.
We knew to tell that story, we had to go there. So we had a few things we definitely kind of locked in. But other than that, we were sort of waiting for people to come to us. And amazingly, as the podcast came out and word started getting around that we were doing it, other people came to us. I've heard you're doing a podcast. I want to tell my story.
Wow. It could be the beginning of many, many things. I guess it must have been kind of crazy as you go down this rabbit hole. There's so many questions that this then leads to. But I think that the narrative, let's stick with that for a little while, which is as you stand back and look at it now, what do you think Onecoin is, and what do you think it was to the people that bought into it at the time, that A, fell for the scam, and B, kind of promoted it?
People who fell for the scam, other than thinking it was their chance to get in when they'd missed out on Bitcoin. And remember, nearly all of the investors into Onecoin, and there were hundreds of thousands of them, maybe over 1 million, none of them understood Bitcoin, and none of them really understood blockchain technology, but most of them had read about it, or they read articles about people making a lot of money.
Seen something in the news.
Exactly. People, I've heard that story about the pizza person. That famous pizza story, right? Whatever it is.
Somebody bought 2 pizzas for a Bitcoin, and that's famously the most expensive pizza in history.
Full folklore, isn't it, in the Bitcoin world? And so they'd seen these stories, and amazingly, they they think I've missed the boat with Bitcoin, which is doubly frustrating because there were people in 2015 that thought they'd missed the Bitcoin boat and so put thousands of pounds into Onecoin, which had they put into Bitcoin, of course, would have turned out quite well for them. So for them, they thought they were part of the wider cryptocurrency revolution. So they would read the articles, they would go on to Cointelegraph, they would talk to each other about Ethereum without really understanding it, but feel they were part of the same thing, not realizing that never at a single Onecoin event have you seen one person from that world speak, and never at a true cryptocurrency event have you ever seen a Onecoin person speak. But they believe they were part of the same. They were part of the same world, and part of the reason for that is that Onecoin would use the same language intentionally. Bank the unbanked, money without banks, financial revolution. Rather than having a decentralized blockchain, they would say at Onecoin, this is an interesting thing we didn't really talk about on the podcast. They would say the problem with Bitcoin is it's used on the darknet markets. Kind of my world's colliding there.
Yeah.
It's used on the darknet markets for drugs and crime, and governments won't accept it. That's why we are building a KYC blockchain, which puts your KYC details into the blockchain. It's centralized, it's secure, it's secretive, so it can't be misused by criminals.
What?
Yeah, well, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But the language was actually kind of, you're part of the cryptocurrency revolution, but you're part of a secure one that the regulators will accept. It's not libertarian in quite the same way.
And I think a lot of people have bought into this Bitcoin upgraded thing, and many people have tried to do it in the crypto community, and there was an explosion of different coins sort of after Bitcoin, which may have made this easier to hide amongst the crowd a little bit. That it wasn't just Bitcoin at this point. There was Ripple and there was Ethereum, and then there was a long tail of them, especially in 2017, and everybody had a coin, and the prices were going through the roof.
And I think a lot of people were just thinking, well, I'll put a few £1,000s in. Maybe it comes off. Maybe it doesn't come off. Maybe I'll make $1 million. Maybe I'll make nothing. That's a risk I'm willing to take.
Which is general kind of principle for some people that are fortunate enough to do that, is never invest anything that you can't afford to lose. But of course, there were lots of people who did.
Lots of people that did. I mean, everyone did. Because, that's not true. Onecoin, you asked how do I describe it? I mean, the actual best description is from the US authorities, who call it a hybrid Ponzi pyramid scheme, which is what it is. The only thing it really shares in common with cryptocurrency is hype. It uses the language and the hype to say this is an amazing thing. The price is mathematically determined to go up forever and all of that stuff, and everyone will be using this one day. But actually, it's just structured like a classic pyramid scheme with pyramid selling, which is the key to understanding the whole thing and how it spread and how it goes from the UK to Uganda so quickly, for example. So you're bringing people in, you're recruiting people in, you get a commission when you recruit them in, and then they recruit people, and then you get a commission from everyone in your downline. And you use the new money to pay off the early investors. So it's pyramid and Ponzi combined, where all pyramids are Ponzis, but not all Ponzi's are pyramids, because Bernie Madoff's wasn't a pyramid selling structure, but it was still a Ponzi scheme. So it's essentially, even though everyone called it a crypto scam, it doesn't actually have anything to do with crypto at all.
Well, and this is interesting. So I've had...
so maybe I'm on the wrong podcast here.
Well, no. Well, this is interesting to me because I spend a lot of my time explaining crypto to various people, as I'm sure do a lot of listeners to this show. And people do equate crypto with scams. And there have been things that did use crypto technology that have been scams. So that's not without warrant. But I do think that people have, it sort of contaminated crypto even more than it already was because of everything that came with the darknet markets. Where do you stand on that now as you step back from this, from Onecoin versus crypto? Have you sort of do you see the things as distinct, and how are you explaining it to people?
I see them as very distinct, and I know some people are upset that we've called it the crypto queen because saying you should have called her the missing Ponzi queen or the missing pyramid scammer queen, but she called herself the missing crypto queen. She pulled investors in by saying this was part of the cryptocurrency revolution. The people that invested did so because they thought they were part of the cryptocurrency revolution. So I think it's fair to use the term. But when I describe it now, I do say it's not really a crypto scam. Not in the sense of, oh, I've got an ICO, it's going to turn into something amazing, and then it doesn't. And I've put together a rubbish white paper, and nothing happens, but I've got all the money now.
Yeah,
it's not that kind of scam. What the people that were involved at the top didn't really know anything about cryptocurrency at all. A lot of them were professional pyramid sellers or had been involved in classic pyramid scams in the past. They looked around and saw that a cryptocurrency was a perfect product to run through a pyramid scam, because you didn't really need to have any physical product. You could just invent it and put it in. You put a number in someone's web account and say, "There's your product." Isn't that amazing? It's a very low running cost
as well.
Sorry,
and look, the number's gone up. Look how much richer you are. You can't have it back yet, though.
Yeah, exactly. So it seemed to. I think they looked at it and thought it has all the ingredients for a perfect pyramid product, because low running costs, because all you need is a number in your account. We will use all the hype and excitement about it. Rather than selling vitamin supplements, which is very difficult, and you need to, you need to stock your garage up with hundreds of boxes of vitamin tablets.
You need to deliver something even if it's not doing what it says.
Yeah, exactly, and which is annoying for people, and it's hard for people to sell Tupperware to their friends and family all the time. But if you can say, I'm going to sell you a coin that's going to keep going up in value.
Yeah, you are actually selling a dream.
You're literally selling the dream, because, and it's very easy to control the price of that fake coin, so it does always go in the right direction. I actually think they were surprised by how successful it was.
That was going to be my next question, because was there something where they executed it extremely well? Was it the timing? Because surely there were other people that tried to do this playbook but weren't as successful. Like, there must have been people doing MLM with crypto scams that aren't Onecoin.
Well, Ruja herself did one called Bigcoin, which she tried 6 months before she launched Onecoin as sort of an experiment. But I think that was one of the first, actually, that was a real hybrid of MLM and fake coin, if you like. MLM, multi-level marketing, and fake coin. I think it was the first proper one, that and Bigcoin. The co-leader, the co-founder of Onecoin, who in some ways is as important as Ruja, is a man called Sebastian Greenwood, who's just got a long history in pyramid systems. I think he came with the idea of creating the pyramid selling, and she came with the kind of these bit of knowledge about crypto, because she did work in finance for a while for McKinsey's, and a bit of credibility. She had the degree from Oxford, she had a degree from Constance University in Germany, and the two of them together made a quite amazing team. So I think, yes, they were surprised by the speed with which this grew. I think they may have even thought, can we go legit? I mean, this is so successful. Why didn't we do a proper cryptocurrency this way? But it was too late.
At that point, how do you get out of that? And it feels like that some of the people that put their money in and couldn't pull it out, I think you intimated at some point that there may be links to crime, or there may be links to other things that aren't so positive. Do you think they may have got themselves in over their head to a certain degree?
Yeah, and that's an area that's quite hard to talk about, partly for legal reasons, because there's an awful lot of rumour and speculation, hearsay about her close relationships with pretty notorious people in the Bulgarian crime scene, even within the Bulgarian government. But it's very, very hard to prove any of that stuff.
Well, absolutely.
The FBI, however, has said that the brother Konstantin has significant links with organised crime in Bulgaria. The way I look at this, and again without naming particular names, if you're suddenly sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars and you suddenly need to move it around, and you're based in Bulgaria, it's quite difficult not to have other groups getting involved. Just who you are and where you are, and
it's quite plausible and logical that could have happened.
So that's the way that I see it. And there is again, for people to understand this, the way that it worked is you would be making, as a seller, as a promoter, of Onecoin, you would make 10% on all direct sales. So if I sell you a starter pack for €500, or I sell you a tycoon pack, and these are the names they use, for €5,000, or an ultimate pack for €118,000, with which you get tokens, which are then quote unquote used to mine your Onecoin, which then turn up in your account, I make a 10% commission on your sales. Then I make roughly a 2 to 3% commission on all the sales that you and everyone below you make in my downline. The reason this is a Ponzi scheme is that for a very long time, or for at least the first 18 months, that downline commission was being paid out. People were earning money from their downline in addition to their 10% commission. But then the money started to dry up and people weren't getting paid their downline commission, but they were still getting their direct sales commission. So people were making money by going to friends and family still and selling them and getting 10%.
And what was in these packs that they were selling? So, like, I know that people listening to this may have gone to Coinbase or to other websites, Kraken, many others, to go buy cryptocurrency that's available in various marketplaces. But a pack is quite a different thing. What's in a pack?
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Like, because this is one of the other arguments. What other cryptocurrencies can you only buy through purchasing a pack for a set price? So for a pack, you receive a certain number of tokens, which are then used, I'm using their language here, which are then used to mine the Onecoin on the Onecoin blockchain, and then once your tokens have been used to mine those coins, the coins appear in your account. And the tokens you get for each pack, the more money you spend on each pack, the more tokens you get, of course. And they would always do special offers, and every now and again there'd be like a special offer, you can double your tokens. Which is weird because there's a market price, they say, for Onecoin. They would say, let's say that it's March 2016 and Onecoin is worth €11.
It's clear they're in control of supply. That's the only way you could sell something for half price.
Well, yeah, exactly. So suddenly, in I think it was in June 2017, or maybe it's June 2016, actually, there's suddenly a special offer where you can spend €100,000 to buy what turns out to be like millions of Onecoin, which makes the price hardly anything at all. But you will be able to sell these for €10 on the market when it opens.
And that's not how markets work.
It doesn't make any sense, does it? Why would I wait? Why would I buy them at a market price when I can buy them for a fraction
I'll
of
just
that?
go buy the packs instead of buying them on the market.
I'll buy the packs. So, and people would buy multiple versions of the same pack because they'd be on special offer and so on. And it's like one off, you'll be able to double your tokens. Now, technically, what Onecoin said is we're not selling coins, we're not selling tokens. The tokens come free with the packs, and the packs are actually educational materials. So I have seen the educational materials that you buy from Onecoin.
For €100,000.
So for €118,000, you get all education levels of the education materials from Onecoin, levels 1 to 7. So the more you spend, the higher level you get. For the €118,000, you get all 7 materials. But they are essentially PDF, 50 pages of PDFs, just basics about finance, and significant chunks are straight plagiarized from different books.
Wow.
We checked it.
Wow.
We got plagiarized material. At the end of episode 5 or 6, I can't remember which one now, I read from Finance for Dummies, and Georgia read Onecoin educational material, and they're just the same.
Wow. That's terrifying.
No, technical analysis for dummies. That was it. Technical analysis for dummies.
My goodness. If you're going to sell it, that's a markup. You can get that on Amazon a lot cheaper.
None of the material you couldn't easily find either for €10 in a book or free online on all of the amazing websites that are out there to teach you about cryptocurrencies. So the argument that this is just we're selling educational materials that are incredible, but you just happen to get some free tokens is ridiculous, because also the investors that we interviewed, none of them said I was in it for the education.
You did speak to some people who are still promoters and supporters.
Yes.
And they seem to be still quite vociferously supporting the world of Onecoin and or anything that even resembles it. Do you think that they were still actively promoting and selling the packs and had a commercial motivation, or do you think there were still some in there that are true believers?
This is the difficulty with Onecoin. It's very hard to distinguish between the people who were also duped and also believe, and those who know full well it's a scam and they're scamming other people still. And that's, I think, what makes it difficult for the authorities to know who is scamming and who is scammed. Because when you're talking about a pyramid scheme, people who are your quote-unquote victims have also usually or often brought other people in, recruited other people and made a small commission themselves. So it's very hard to know where responsibility lies. The kind of chief victim in our story, Jen McAdam from Scotland, she had invested €10,000 into Onecoin, but she also recruited other people into the scam, and who invested 250,000 of their money. So it becomes no. I don't consider her a scammer at all, because I think as soon as she was accidentally a scammer, because she really believed, and as soon as she learnt the truth, she stopped, she went public, she was threatened, she carried on, and she's done nothing but speak out against Onecoin ever since. But I think there are a lot of people who, there's a term in law which is something like conscious avoidance. They don't want to know the truth, they avoid learning the truth because they suspect it's probably a scam, but they don't actually want to know.
And, well, sunk cost fallacy starts to kick in as well, which is how much time, effort, energy of my own cash, my own profits, my identity is now attached to this thing that may in fact be incorrect. And can I psychologically deal with that? Which, to me, makes what Jen did so powerful and brave, really. I mean, it's very early on in the podcast. You hear her kind of listening to herself previously when she was really trying to support Onecoin and reflecting back on that. And that's a brave thing to do, and to put herself out there like that.
Yeah, definitely. And she, like I say, she got a lot of criticism for that. I mean, she even got letters from Carter Ruck, who were representing Onecoin and Ruja.
A law firm, I assume. The
law firm Carter Ruck, who are sort of quite a well-known law firm in London that Private Eye seems to get tangled up with every other week. Saying you cease and desist. I mean, remove this criticism of Onecoin, all these allegations you've made against it. And that's terrifying when you're an ordinary person and you get a law firm, a famous law firm, writing you letters. But she wouldn't. She carried on. And so, I mean, incredibly brave thing to do. But it's a bit like the Marxists, who it takes them decades to renounce Marxism because they've put so much of their own reputation into it. And
I like that metaphor.
Yeah, well,
because you've met that
hard.
person, right? You know that person.
It's hard, and she says that it took her months to accept it, because there's the bit you're referring to is this Bitcoiner. I mean, a hardcore Bitcoiner called Timothy Curry.
Yes,
who he's very quickly spotted something was wrong with Onecoin, and basically spent his months he's still doing it now, going around to Onecoin promoters and saying, "This is a scam, stop it." Really on his own. No one else was helping him out. I mean, it's really it's quite amazing what he did as well. And him and Jen have this conversation where he is telling her it's a scam, and she will not listen to him.
Yeah.
She says, "No, you're lying. You're a Bitcoiner. You're a paid hater. You don't want Onecoin to succeed. You're making money from Bitcoin, and you're scared we'll overtake Bitcoin. That's why."
Yeah.
And Jen had been told to say all this. That she'd been told by the leaders that Bitcoiners were jealous of Onecoin, so don't listen to them.
Wow.
And don't listen to Google because it's fake news. And don't listen to the authorities because they're scared. And she'd so kind of swallowed all of this that she said it took her several months to read all the material that he sent her and to finally accept it. Now, the thing is, once you accept it's a scam, it's almost like you flip 180 degrees immediately.
Yeah.
Then you're and then you see the world in a different way.
Oh, and I don't know if you've ever been through therapy, but there are moments that you have moments of clarity in life that are terrifying, and yet so like a weight has lifted, something in a weird way.
Exactly, and I interviewed an amazing professor who specializes in cult psychology and that kind of thing, and she said it's like a switch moment or a flip, where often it's a small thing. She's talking about people that leave cults. And there are cultic elements to this. The way they talk about Ruja, our saviour. Even when Ruja disappeared, the supporters would say, "No, she's gone into hiding for the greater good. She'll return one day as the Messiah." that sometimes there's just a moment of clarity, like you say, a switch moment or a flip moment, where suddenly, whether it's the straw that breaks the camel's back, you see the truth and you can barely believe that it took you so long to accept it.
Which is incredible. And I think